Let's take a quick moment and ponder the common phrase or proverb, the truth shall set you free. Because in this breaking story, I want to set you free of Donald Trump, not in a watchdog kind of way, but in an emotional way, because this breaking story I'm going to show you in a few seconds absolutely sums up the truth that we have to be clear about and stay frosty on every single day. Because I don't want you to be shocked by Donald Trump. I want us to be prepared for it, because there is only one truth about Donald, and this breaking story sums it up in 3 specific ways. I'm going to show you the story in just a few seconds, but let's get to phase number 1, and that's this.
US President Donald Trump is under fire again, this time for accepting a Boeing 7478 nicknamed a palace in the sky from the Qatari government. The plane, decked out like a 5-star hotel with wings, is supposedly a temporary Air Force One.
And that is with regards to our emoluments clause. Trump will invent any kind of wrinkle he can to accept anything from anyone, no matter who they are, when it means it's going to enrich him in some way.
Ethic watchdogs are raising alarm bells, with some branding the situation as a blatant violation of the US Constitution's emoluments clause.
The real danger here is that this other country, Qatar, appears that it is going to be giving him this very valuable gift, this huge luxury airplane, and that when he makes decisions or about trade deals, that rather than making those decisions based on this analysis of what's in the American people's interest.
And then there's, of course, phase number 2, which is this.
Look what happened. Is this crazy? We stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in the history of Make America Great Again. How can you be against it?
I think it's worth noting off the top here that Trump comes into office here in the second term with even more conflicts of interest than he had in his first term. And he hasn't divested from anything in his second term here, so he's continuing to visit properties.
Let's remember, Donald Trump back in 2015 is the only modern president in U.S. history who refused to disclose his tax returns. And he didn't for a reason, and that's one of the reasons why the Southern District of New York eventually took him to court over his fraudulent beliefs over the years about how much his properties were worth. But then here's the key. The key is phase number 3 and what he does as president, making it look like he cares about America. It's this.
In this factory, clothing from some of the world's major brands is coming to life. And it's workers like Nguyen Ngoc An who've benefited from Vietnam's boom in manufacturing. But now President Trump is threatening 46% tariffs on Vietnam.
It's hard to believe with any sort of tariff American workers could ever compete with that.
His sons are continuing to make these foreign business deals.
Correct. Tariffs on everyone. I'm making deals with everybody. No, he's making deals with himself and using a country like Vietnam, when we're never going to be able to compete with their manufacturing, but pushing tariffs on them so that his son and the Trumposphere organizations can go and make deals to enrich himself, like this story right here. Take a listen.
Now to our other big story tonight, the Trump family cashing in big time. President Trump's son, Eric, is now arriving in Vietnam. In just hours, he will be breaking ground on a new $1.5 billion golf resort there. This is according to Reuters, and the billion-dollar investment is front-page news there, and the headlines are quite clear about what this is. Here's one: U.S. President's son, Eric Trump, to attend groundbreaking ceremony. You saw the first 2 words there, U.S. President. And then we actually went to take a look at the website from the Vietnamese group involved in the deal. Look at the picture that they have posted about the deal. It's interesting. You see in the center, President Trump. Are you ready for this? I'll tell you about this picture. About a month before Election Day, this picture was put out. This is President Trump taking time from the campaign trail to appear with his son, Eric, at the signing of the deal to build golf courses and hotels in Vietnam. Time from the campaign trail to sit in the middle and to sign that deal. And this golf course is one of several major projects Trump org now has in Vietnam, including hotels and towers. Reuters reports Eric Trump, as part of this trip, is going to go to Ho Chi Minh City this week, where Trump org is now considering plans to build a luxury Trump Tower. City officials treating Trump to a dinner party, expected to accompany him as he tours all sorts of upscale areas. And while Eric Trump is in Vietnam receiving a king-like welcome, it may come as no surprise that back here in the United States, Vietnam is a high priority for a trade deal for Team Trump. Officials from Vietnam were reportedly in Washington for a second round of trade talks. And Vietnam has been singled out by President Trump directly. Here he is on what he calls Liberation Day, the day he announced his trade war.
Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff.
So that was on April 2nd. 2 days later passed, mere 48 hours since Liberation Day. And what country did Trump again publicly single out? Vietnam. On April 4th, he writes, just had a very productive call with To Lam, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who told me that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs to zero if they're able to make an agreement with the U.S. So Vietnam is actually doing exactly what makes sense here. Does it have a choice but to embrace Trump's son, to put up a Trump building, however many he wants, golf resort, whatever? Did it have a choice but to allow Elon Musk to launch Starlink satellite service in Vietnam? I mean, enriching the Trump family is a very small price to pay when Vietnam is facing those tariffs of 46% if it doesn't make a deal by the end of June. It is a very small price to pay for Vietnam when their exports to the United States account for 30% of their entire gross domestic product. So a third of their entire economy is relying on the U.S. They know where their bread is buttered, and Eric Trump is in the city now. Now to Congressman Ro Khanna, Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, also in Armed Services. The White House is saying Trump has nothing to do with this. He is at the signing of the deal for this a month before Election Day when they posted it with Eric Trump and the head of the Vietnamese group. There it is, right? Big U.S. flags, by the way, behind him. Very presidential, in fact, it looks like, a month before he won the White House again. What do you think about the fact that Eric Trump is now in charge of this $1.5 billion deal, tower, golf course in Vietnam?
Well, look, you don't have to be an ethics expert or a lawyer or on the Oversight Committee to know that this is just wrong. America never used to be for sale. No president in my lifetime has done something like this, where they are negotiating the tariff deal on a country based on whether that country is going to invest in their family's businesses. Well, Aaron, as you reported, Trump and Eric Trump don't even have to say anything. I mean, that's the system they've set up, nor does anyone in the Trump administration. They know that other governments are going to try to curry favor to get favorable terms. So if you're the Vietnamese government, the Communist Party, you're thinking, well, what's $1.5 billion when it could save us billions of dollars in getting the 46% tariff removed?
Yeah, I will say, Congressman, one thing about this that appears to be the most disturbing is this is one of those basic things as a journalist you can just say it's wrong. And it would seem most people would know this is wrong. And yet we're not hearing that from many of your colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle.
You got to realize, folks, this is not anything about the government, America, or making America great again. Trump is going to be close to a trillionaire. Mark my words right now today, May 21st, 2025. Trump, Eric, Don, Ivanka, they're going to be close to have enriched themselves to the level of being a trillionaire because he doesn't like that Bezos and Musk have more money than he does. This is all he's about. There's an old license plate holder that said, "He who dies with the most toys wins." That is Donald Trump, and that is the truth that needs to set you free going forward. He will position it as the border, he'll position it as tariffs because we're getting taken advantage of. Donald Trump himself has taken advantage of small business owners his entire life by filing bankruptcies to screw them over. Donald Trump himself has said out loud, I use the taxes to my favor, and said out loud, let's bring manufacturing back, while he manufactures every single thing in any line of products he's ever done, and also any clothing he's ever done. Just like his Trump MAGA novelty store stuff is all made in China. He is an absolute total liar. He only cares about himself, and that's the truth that needs to both energize you but keep you from being shocked going forward by anything that he does, because he's just using the power of the presidency for himself. Everything else is simply a Wizard of Oz smokescreen with Oz being on the curtain and pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. And that's Donald Trump. You guys stay frosty.